Good evening. I'd like to call the April 22nd Board of Education meeting to order. Please rise for the invocation. O God, we pray to administer that which is just in all educational policies, being ever mindful of your guidance, stir us to action with love, wisdom, and understanding. The pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Item 2.03, approval of the minutes. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes? All those in favor? Motion passes 7-0-0. Item 2.04, establish agenda order, and the agenda stands as published. Item 2.05, recognitions. We have no recognitions this evening. And 2.06, school and community highlights. Mrs. Ritchie.
Gotta make this a little bigger. I'm having difficulty seeing. Hold on. Thank you. I'm going to be a little lengthier than I normally am. So I hope you'll indulge just a bit. Many of you are probably familiar with a thing called The Great Give. It's a 24-hour virtual online fundraiser hosted by the Community Foundation of Anne Arundel County. The Great Give is a way to raise awareness and money for local nonprofits of Anne Arundel County, and it starts May 5th through the 6th, starting at 6 p.m. on the 5th, going through 6 p.m. on the 6th. I mention that because this is the first year that Anne Arundel County Public Schools will be participating through our partnership with the 21st Century, which is the 501c3 for the school system. All money raised through the Great Give will be used to support all money raised for Anne Arundel County Public Schools through the Great Give will be used to support the following system initiatives. Early literacy. This addresses students primarily from birth to second grade. Technology in the classroom. This is across all grade levels and could be used to purchase things like tablets, devices to enhance instruction. Summer and co-curricular programs, again, across all levels. They'll be used to help to defray the cost of before, during, and after school activities and provide scholarships for students to attend summer programs. College and career readiness, primarily at the high school level to provide events and opportunities to prepare students. And family and community engagements. Again, reaching all levels of students and provide events and activities to engage and inform families, communities about the work that's going on in the school, better enabling them to support their children. So let's think about that for just a minute. We have just shy of 80,000 students. If we received just $5 for every student that we have, we'd raise close to $400,000. $5 from every student. The parents of every student, because you have to be, over 18 to do this. And they will then, all the money goes to supporting these initiatives. Remember that they'll be split. It'll be split, and how it'll be split will be decided on, later on, but it'll be split between the initiatives. And the money does not replace money already in our budget. So it's one of those, when you go to the grocery store kind of things, and you need to have milk, but you also want to have chocolate milk. So when you get to have the extra money, you get to buy the chocolate milk. Doesn't get rid of the milk, but you got to have the chocolate milk too. So it's one of those things where it helps to enhance our initiatives and to move things forward that are not already supported fully by our budget. Please consider taking part in the Great Give starting at 6 p.m. on May 5th through 6 p.m. on May 6th. More information is available at our website, www.aacps.org. I hope that you will join me in participating in the Great Give, May 5th through the 6th. I believe to help get donors and donations, I know that we've designed a video that we'd like to show you now that really highlights what we're all about in our school system.
Great Give 2015. Help 80,000 students in AACPS through early literacy. I love reading because books give me the knowledge. I like reading because once I read and chapter books don't have pictures, I usually imagine them in my mind. I have to read my last two and then I complete the book. Bam. Get ready to give and read. Get ready to give so that all kids are reading.
Summer and co-curricular enhancements.
At friendship camp, I got to make lots and lots of friends. You get to see animals that you've never seen before. You're like, what is that?
I'm originally from Zimbabwe, so when I first came to this country in this school in 10th grade, it was really hard for me to find a place to fit in. And I'm a student who really likes pushing myself, both in the classroom and outside of the classroom, so I decided to get involved. There are so many clubs here, you need to join one. When I finally decided on a club to join, that's when I felt like I became a part of South River High School.
School is so much fun. I'm excited to go every day to see what cool things we are going to do next. I want to be a scientist and an artist when I grow up. My mom said she never got to do so many things when she was in kindergarten, so I think I'm pretty lucky. Get ready to give to camps.
Get ready to give to clubs.
Get ready to get to great programs for kids. Technology in the classroom.
We use technology to apply to schools and scholarships.
The thing that I like about using tablets is that it makes it more convenient for me to do my work.
Let's face it, kids like me, we learn best through technology. It's about time we start getting this technology into the classroom.
I think I do get more from my students. They're more excited to use the tablets.
Get ready to give
To bring
Technology
to the classroom.
College and career readiness.
Now that I had 4 years of solid experience and just life-changing experience within my magnet program, I'm ready to take on the world, excel in college and beyond, chase my dreams, and do my best to make a world a better place. Get ready to give to the future of our kids.
Community and family engagement.
We are a school of high need, and our students are hungry on the weekends, and therefore we were able to start the backpack program for the kids to get food on the weekends from our community supporters. But the need is so great that we really need the community support for many other programs, especially over the summer. For the summer slides, we need summer enrichment programs and materials.
When students come in and they find out we have a food pantry, they're like, what? This is huge. And sometimes they say, can you call my mom and tell her about this? Because sometimes we just don't have anything in the house. I have a man that lives in the community around us that I call him my food angel, because he shows up every week with huge amounts of groceries in his hand, and a few weeks ago he showed up with a new freezer. So I now have 2 freezers so that I can not only give people canned food and prepared foods, but I can also give them fresh meat that they can go home and make their own meals for their kids and maybe teach their students how to make a meal.
Get ready to give to support our wonderful children.
Get ready to give to support your community and support your students. We need it.
The Great Give is a community fundraiser where everyone comes together to give to each other. You can support Anne Arundel County Public Schools in our 5 initiatives on May 5th through May 6th with your donation. Go to www.aacps.org/greatgive for more information.
Ms. Chaudhry.
I would just like to say, as the school year is coming to an end, so is my term. And this past April 8th, we had CRASC, which is the Chesapeake Regional Association of Student Councils, elect the next student member on the board, who is currently sitting here over there, Jacob Horskamp. He is a junior and a STEM junior at North County High School, and even though I'm kind of sad that I'll be leaving you guys, I know that Jacob is going to do a wonderful job, so congratulations, Jacob. You're welcome. The second community highlight I have is that this morning I got the privilege of attending the Avid Expo, and it was really, really amazing. Something that I learned this morning is that we have sixth graders going to colleges and doing college visits, which was kind of amazing because I didn't start thinking about college till freshman year, and I certainly didn't go on any college visits till sophomore year, I think, and towards the end of sophomore year too. So the fact that the AVID program is preparing them so well in advance was amazing to see. And we had a couple of students come. I know we had students from Severna Park come and talk about the AVID program. We had students from South River come and talk about the AVID program. And they were all really thankful that they have that program at their high schools and at their schools, and that was kind of neat to see too, to have them be so passionate about something.
Mrs. Birch.
Thank you so much. I have a couple events to talk about. I had the privilege last Friday evening of attending the PTA Founders Day event, which was magnificent as always. So thank you very much for the invitation. It's always good to support our partnership with the PTA. I enjoyed myself very much. It was a wonderful event, and I loved seeing all of the schools, the volunteers, the teachers, the principals, and the support staff who were honored that evening. It was very inspiring. I also was at the Avid Showcase this morning, and I didn't see you because I was there very early and I got sucked in and I never made it from the back of the room. I also closed the room. I was the last person to leave the room. All the posters were down, everyone was done, and I'm still there with the one person left with a poster up in the entire room. I had such a good time talking to the folks. I even talked to folks from Manor View who are doing Avid theories with their second grade classes. So, I mean, it was phenomenal, the things that these folks do with their kids. And I was also very inspired by the things that they were doing. And I met quite a few students who are part of the AVID program and who have been for many years. And just to hear how it's changed their outlook and what they feel like they can accomplish makes me realize that it's definitely well invested funds on our part, and the people that we have doing this are amazing educators that are working with our kids, and we definitely have some very good people who are supporting our kids in the AVID program, and I want to thank everyone who's involved with it because it's really quite a phenomenal program, and I think they're doing great things. I also was at the Teacher of the Year program, but I figure I'll let someone else talk about that because that was also a wonderful night. So thank you.
Dr. Arletto.
Thank you. Certainly, thanks for the lead-in. The Teacher of the Year night, as always, is fabulous. In tremendous energy. We are very proud of all of the candidates that were brought forward. It is not an easy task to choose that number one, but she was, I think if she could have done backflips, she would have. The energy was wonderful in the room, and so I thank everybody that was involved in that and our partnership with the Chamber to be able to bring that about. But I'd also like to share something with the board and our guests. There are times in life for every educator when you wonder how much of an impact you're really having on children. Well, tonight we're going to talk a little bit about that. We were recently sent a letter that was written to Freeman Rabowski, who's currently the longtime president of the University of Maryland, Baltimore County, UMBC, by Austin Murdoch, that laid out clearly the impact that our educators had on his life. Austin is a graduate of Chesapeake High School, and it's important that we tell these success stories. We tell the stories of success of our children. I thought it would be great if, rather than me read you the letter, we could get Austin to share it with you. So I'd like to invite Austin to the podium now to read his letter to us. Welcome, Austin.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
As Dr. Arletto mentioned, I'm Austin Murdoch from the University of Maryland, Baltimore County. I'm an undergraduate student there, and the letter I'm about to read, I wrote to Dr. Rabowski when we were discussing my experiences in high school that shaped my success in college. Dr. Rabowski, my excitement about mathematical and scientific concepts started at a young age. In many school systems, this excitement might have been squelched by a stringent adherence to the curriculum. In my case, however, the willingness of my elementary and high school administrators to venture outside of the standard curriculum and teach advanced concepts to passionate students was a key factor in my continued success in math and science. After expressing a desire to learn more math concepts to my Botkin Elementary School guidance counselor, Ms. Elsis, the staff began taking interested students into the library where they taught us basic algebra using balancing scales. When 3 of my friends and I wanted to start a chess team, the staff was very enthusiastic. They allowed us to practice with other students in the library after school, and they supported us any way that they could. In 2005, the four of us won the Maryland State Championships and placed 17th in the nation in the K-5 category. I was touched last year when I heard Bodkin still proudly displays our pictures and trophy. It was cool to be smart at Bodkin Elementary, a concept well understood at UMBC. People often ask me for advice about pipeline programs, and I cannot stress enough how important it is to capture children early. The support I received from Miss Elsis in second grade has been the foundation on which I have built the rest of my STEM career. Her willingness to provide me extra academic challenges kept me engaged and excited about school. And we actually have Miss Elsis here tonight, so I hope we have. Thank you very much. When I entered Chesapeake Senior High School, once again, the guidance counselor, Miss Maker, and the principal supported my passion for science and drive to take advanced courses. When I expressed a desire to break the county norm and take AP Computer Science as a freshman, the concept was initially met with resistance. However, Ms. Maker listened to my rationale and then worked with the staff to support my request. Throughout my high school career, she constantly worked with me to facilitate a schedule that would support my learning and growth. In fact, she is the individual who nominated me for the Meyerhoff program. Like Bodkin, the staff at Chesapeake High School supported my academic journey outside of their classrooms, and I thrived as both a participant in the Jumpstart program with Anne Arundel Community College and in the work-study program with the Department of Defense. Both programs, implemented by Anne Arundel County Public Schools, were key factors in my ability to succeed at UMBC and then gain acceptance into a computer science PhD program, which I will be attending this fall. I will quickly reiterate 2 points in my letter, which I have grown in appreciation for during my time at UMBC. The path to academic success begins in elementary school. It is so important to engage and excite students about math and science at a young age. When I look back, I feel so lucky to have come from a blue ribbon elementary school who supported me in so many ways. Second, we must allow ourselves to have high expectations of what our students can accomplish. I support the need for schools to have a curriculum as it ensures every student will have the basic knowledge needed for the next stage of his or her education. However, if we want students to not just survive in math and science, but to love learning, we must consider the possibilities for students if we give them a chance to augment the standard curriculum in and outside of the classroom. I will close with an idea from Maya Angelou, which is students will not remember everything you say or do, but they will always remember how you make them feel. Is it cool to be smart in your school? Thank you.
Austin, thank you so much for taking the time, one, to share your thoughts with Dr. Rabowski, who we have quite a great partnership with. In fact, he has developed presidential scholarships for every one of our high schools. So they select a person where UMBC offers a scholarship to a graduating senior from each one of our high schools, all 13. And so we're delighted that you took the time to share. I understand your parents are here. Is that right? Can we welcome them as well? And Austin, you said you're headed off to your PhD in math, and you're headed where?
Sorry, in computer science.
In computer science, and you're headed where? I know the answer to the question. I just want everybody else to hear it too. It's because it's just really cool.
Yes, I will be pursuing a PhD in computer science at the University of California, Berkeley. I'm very passionate about cybersecurity research, specifically network intrusion detection and prevention.
Fantastic. Fantastic. And certainly smarts didn't begin and end with you, right? Mom and Dad had a lot to do with that, but I understand your sister, she's with us? Is she here this evening?
She's not here this evening.
Okay. And your sister, as I understand it, if I have this correct, Austin's sister, Kiana, is a senior at Chesapeake with a 4.4 GPA, and she was recognized last weekend. Is that right? Where she was given the Delta Sigma Theta sorority for her success, received the scholarship attributed to women of color luncheon, and then I think she's headed to Seton Hall next year?
Yes.
Is that right? Fantastic. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank
you
so
for
much.
sharing. So certainly Austin beat me to the punch with regard to early literacy. That you've heard us talk a lot about at this table and throughout the county about really making connections for kids at the early and getting to our students as early as possible, increasing the rigor. That's what our EEE program and our early literacy programs are all about, and this is a fine example of it. Austin, thank you for sharing. We're very proud of you. Thank you.
Thank you. The only thing I have to add is two things. Studio 39, we had an open house yesterday. Seems like it was long ago. It does all run together. Our new performing visual arts space in the old Phoenix building. So we got to tour that, which was just wonderful. It's a wonderful space. And then I have to put in a plug for the joint production of Beauty and the Beast. Annapolis High School works with the kids at Rolling Knolls Elementary every year for their spring musical, and they're doing it again this year. And this weekend is the second weekend. So we can still see it Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Mrs. Burge?
And Mrs. Korbelak's daughter is the choreographer and in it, and I have 3 nieces in it. So thank you.
Okay, item 2.07 is the CRASC report.
Good evening, President Korbelak, Dr. Arlotto, and other members of the board. My name is Jacob Horscam, and I am a junior at North County High School and the second vice president of the Chesapeake Regional Association of Student Councils. Now, many of you know that on April 8th, CRASC hosted the 2015 student board member elections at South River High School. We had a great time. It was very well attended, and South River is very welcoming. Now, this will be the part where I would announce the winner of this election, but Aisha has already beat me to it. So last year, I ran for second vice so that I could learn as much as possible about the school system so I'd be ready for this position. So I am very eager to hit the ground running this in July and ready to work with all of you for the next school year. I want to thank Ms. Korbelak and Ms. Nally for speaking with the 3 candidates. I also want to thank my parents, my teachers, and my friends for supporting me throughout this entire process. Thank you.
We're looking forward to your swearing in July. Item 2.08, PTA report.
Good evening, President Korbelak, Vice President Nally, Dr. Arlotto, and members of the board. For the record, I'm Pam Bukowski, President of the Anne Arundel County Council of PTAs. In the months since our last report, our efforts have been concentrated on the logistics surrounding our annual Founders Day Volunteer Appreciation Dinner, which took place last Friday, April 17th. With over 170 attendees, we were so pleased to have board members Mrs. Ritchie and Mrs. Burge, Anne Arundel County Public Schools leadership, including Dr. Arlotto, and community leaders join us to celebrate the accomplishments of our PTA volunteers who represent our 87 PTA units in Anne Arundel County. Several awards were presented, and we want to congratulate all of those nominated for outstanding principal, teacher, support staff, personnel, and volunteer from their various PTAs as persons of integrity and advocacy, upholding the ideals of PTA. The award for Outstanding Principal was presented to Gwen Atkinson of Jacobsville, Outstanding Teacher to Kim Flanagan of Solly, Outstanding Support Staff to Lawrence McCormick, Odenton, and the following were honored as Outstanding Volunteers: Elizabeth Hughes, Germantown, Tess Geiser, Belvedere, Amy Stavely, Odenton, Diane Jones, Oakwood, Melissa Thurber, Seven Oaks, Michelle Fakin, Bodkin, Stephanie Reagan, Jacobsville, Lenny Maddox, Hilltop, Deanna Sololan, Solly, Pam Walker, Sunset, Tara Johnson, Millersville, and Shannon Voigt, Millersville. In addition, a special Unsung Hero Award was presented to Teresa Tudor for the constant support she has provided to AACC PTA through the years. The evening ended with a presentation to event chair Beverly Madden, who received the National PTA Life Achievement Award, the highest honor from the nation's largest child advocacy organization. In addition to Founders Day, we took the opportunity to select 2 deserving graduating seniors to receive scholarships on behalf of AACC PTA. Elizabeth Young, Chesapeake High School, has been selected to receive the Kenneth Lawson Education Scholarship, and Sarah Crisp, Old Mill High School, has been selected to receive the Phoebe Apperson Hurst General Scholarship. We congratulate these two young women who exemplify students of excellence who have been educated in Anne Arundel County. They will receive their awards at their respective senior awards events at their schools. Looking ahead, AACC PTA will be facilitating after-prom breakfast grants from the State Highway Administration and the Anne Arundel County Partnership for Children, Youth, and Families. 10 comprehensive high schools in Phoenix will be participating and sharing in the total of $6,000 to help to fund the events to provide a safe and healthy after-prom event. I'm wrong, it's $11,000. Finally, our last general membership meeting will be held on Monday, May 18th at Annapolis High School, where the County Executive's Office of Constituent Services and Heroin Task Force will present a panel similar to the one that took place in early March at the community college. We hope that all of our PTAs will take advantage of this opportunity to gain information. Anne Arundel County Council of PTAs continues in our efforts to be collaborative with Superintendent Arlotto and board personnel to support our school staff and general communities, to encourage and engage parents, and to advocate for all children. As always, PTA thanks you for these many opportunities to speak for every child, one voice. And before I leave the podium, with the permission of President Korbelak, I'd like to call Molly Connolly up. Okay. Tonight, we'd like to present you with the honorary life membership in Maryland PTA to be recognized as a true measure of your outstanding service to the children of Maryland, Anne Arundel County, and your proven dedication to the purposes and mission of PTA. This is the highest honor that Maryland PTA bestows. And I have no doubt that everybody in this room is somebody who demonstrates advocacy, activism, action on behalf of our children. Some in a more visible way, some behind the scenes. But we truly appreciate the support that we have received from Molly throughout the years in helping us with our access to the board and vice versa. So on behalf of...
I'm honored. Thank you so much. That's wonderful. Wonderful surprise. Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's get a picture.
Thanks again.
Thank you. We'll now move on to public comment. Anyone wishing to speak on an item not on today's agenda may offer testimony during this public comment portion of the meeting. Speakers will be allotted 3 minutes each. The board asks that comments remain civil and appropriate for the various audiences that may be watching or viewing the meeting. Student-specific and any personnel matters are confidential and they cannot be discussed in this forum. This time is intended for speakers to voice their opinion and not necessarily as a question and answer period. Speakers may pose questions, but the answers will be counted toward the 3-minute allotment. For the record, please give your name before speaking. Handouts should be given to the board assistant. I have 12 completed cards. I will call the first 3 up, Carl Snowden, Salifu Kita, and Ellie Martin.
Good evening. For the record, my name is Salifu Keita. I'm currently an employee of AACPS, a teacher. I have been informed that I would not be retained to teach in the public system. I feel that I have been subject to disparate treatment.
Mr. Kita, I'm sorry, but we're not able to discuss personnel matters in this open forum.
Okay.
If you want to speak generally about something, that's fine, but not about your specific case.
Okay. I would like then to say thank you in the 5 different languages that I speak, which is Anisu, Bambara, merci, en français, Dankeschön for German, Spasiba for Russian, and English, thank you.
Hello, I'm Ellie Martin, longtime Anne Arundel County resident and educator in both public and private schools in the county. I'm a strong believer that education is our primary hope for change and change of attitude and behavior. My husband and I have grandkids in our public schools and want them and all kids to experience justice and fairness in their school situations and in the community. It's important for all of us to celebrate diversity in order to prepare for the real world and success in life. We should feel very proud of our schools, and only through fairness and justice for all can that proudness be fulfilled. I've heard many words tonight that I value, such as advocacy, action, fairness, and justice, and hope that that's something we all believe in and stand for. Thank you very much.
Madam President, Dr. Lotto, members of the board, I'm here representing the Caucus of African American Leaders. I'm the convener of the caucus. The caucus is a consortium of African American organizations and individuals. Given the changing demographics in our county, we're concerned that the school system and its staff should reflect the community in which it serves. There are a growing number of African Americans, there's a lack of African Americans and Latinos working in the school system. We believe there needs to be a concerted effort not only to recruit Latinos and African Americans, but to retain them. It has come to our attention that several highly qualified African American persons are not being retained. This is of a deep concern with us, given the fact that there is a lack of African American male teachers in particular in the school system. Some of the issues that have been brought to our attention raises a very serious concern as to whether or not persons who work for the school system are all being treated fairly. We've brought these issues directly to the attention of the previous superintendent, Mamie Perkins, and we've also brought to the attention of Dr. Alato these concerns. We're very, very concerned that these concerns are not being adequately addressed, and therefore we're here tonight to underscore our belief that the school system ought to reflect the community it serves. Taxpayers will not subsidize racism. They should not and will not. Lastly, I'd like to make the comment on a policy that the school board has wisely had in place for a number of years. You have a policy that allows prominent citizens to have buildings named after them. As a native Annapolitan and someone who's lived in Anne Arundel County all of my life, this is a policy that has served this community well. It's my understanding that the board took this up. There was not enough votes to change the policy. We'd urge you to retain the policy. The Caucus of African American Leaders went on record unanimously supporting the status quo as it relates to this particular policy. Again, I want to thank the board for hearing us on this particular matter, and I want to underscore that this is not an issue that we intend to make a one-time appearance on. Thank you again.
Thank you. The next four names are Reginald Harris, Paula Harris, Richard Fries, and Tommy Williams.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Good evening, President Korbelak, Vice President Ms. Nally, Dr. Arlato, and other members of the board. I'm a little tickled because when we talk about parent engagement and parents supporting their children, I have to let you know that this is my father who came tonight to support me and the issue at hand. So it does happen and it does make a difference. So I return tonight to speak in opposition to Dr. Arlato's recommendation for change to Policy 706, naming of schools. I am not here seeking an endorsement or to bring any name before this panel as a recommendation. I'm aware of the current policy requirement and I am concerned about the ramifications for allowing future engagement. In the current policy, it states that Parent-Teachers Association of a new school may recommend for adoption by the board a name for a school. It also says that no name shall be named for a person, no building shall be named for a person that is deceased for less than 3 years. Now, the purpose, according to your policy, is to establish an equitable process for the naming and renaming of Anne Arundel County Public Schools, non-school facilities, and portions or significant elements of such schools. Removing these items from the regulation will affect the equitable process and remove parent engagement and choice. In your policy 605.4, it states, the Anne Arundel County Board of Education recognizes the need to build a school environment of inclusiveness that values the contributions, perspective, and influence of all ethnic and cultural groups and its impact on students' dispositions, attitudes, and approaches to learning as valued content. Dr. Arlotto has several times spoke about the process, but the progress being made to ensure access, equity, and achievement. So I ask, how does removing the ability for choice and engagement in this policy align to those goals? In Jim Collins's book, Great by Choice, he references the 20-mile march. If we are to achieve the goals established by this body, those who have previously served, and those who will come behind you, the entire journey has to be strategic and systematic and designed to reduce the role of big forces and chance events. We must presume that bad events will strike and somewhere along the journey prepare for them. We must include all stakeholders on this march, not create policies that leave some on the outside. As I close, I feel compelled to note that on April 7th, I sent an email communication to members of this board about this matter. I have yet to receive an acknowledgement or any comment concerning my concerns. I have documentation of at least 5 different communications that date far back as October to Dr. Arlotto, asking for clarification and a meeting to discuss his position and so that he could hear mine. To date, my request has not been granted. We, as educators, this is my 35th year, 24 in Anne Arundel County, I might add, is this acceptable customer service as educators?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Madam President and members of the Anne Arundel County Board of Education. My name is Reginald Harris. I'm a lifelong resident of this county and a product of the school system, although segregated at the time. I'm here to oppose the change on the policy on naming of schools and educational facilities. I'm not a person that does not recognize the benefit of change, but change for change's sake is counterproductive. There are many benefits in having our institutions named after prominent individuals, more specifically, local individuals that have distinguished themselves as pioneers, trendsetters, innovators, and role models. This symbolizes and demonstrates to our kids that local residents dedicate their lives to improve the county in which we live. This could inspire some of our children to pursue careers in education and other notable professions. There are many educators who became educators based on what their experiences during their formidable years. Why should we deny our future leaders this opportunity? The name of a school could and should spark an interest in what this individual's accomplishments were to be recognized in such a notable way. I have spent most of my life in law enforcement or the judicial system. When I realized that I wanted to be an attorney, it was not feasible. Had I been exposed to an African-American attorney during my youth, my life might have been different. There were no African-American attorneys in this county. Therefore, no exposure, no role models.
Exposure in early life is beneficial to our youth and to society. Don't deny our youth any opportunity for exposure. Exposure creates thought, thought creates dialogue, dialogue creates inquiry, and inquiry creates knowledge. Knowledge is education and the reason schools were established. Role models have shaped our lives, and we as people need more positive role models. Something as simple as a name could give one hope and inspiration. I have stated some of my reasons for leaving the policy in place. I have not heard any benefits or justifications for changing the policy. Maybe, just maybe, we need dialogue. Thank you for your time and the opportunity to speak.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Dick Fries. I've been a resident of Lothian for 47 years. All 5 of my children graduated from Southern High School. My 2 oldest were statisticians for Linda Kilpatrick, who has been outrageously dismissed from 39 years of coaching.
Mr. Fries, unfortunately, we can't discuss personnel matters with specific names. If you want to talk in general about a policy or another matter, that's fine. But we can't discuss individual people.
Tom Williams, I'm here for the same reason, and it pretty much puts a damper on what we have to say, but okay, we'll try to ad-lib here a little bit. Our long coach, basketball coach of 39 years with numerous state and regional champions was dismissed, and I'm not going to use any names. But we all the explanation we gave was that we're going into a different direction. What does that mean? A different direction. She has over 500 wins. I think the community deserves a better explanation than a different direction. My 2 kids graduated from Southern. She was a great coach to them and also a mentor. Both of them graduated from college and have become outstanding citizens due to people like her who lead by example on and off the court. No disrespect to Dr. Hamlin, can I say that? But he's a first-year principal. He does not know Southern nor South County. If he wants to blame someone for losing seasons, then blame our feeder system. I doubt that he even knows the name of our feeder system, as it's changed numerous times over the last 10 years. They believe that winning trophies in a C League is better than teaching them how to play at a high school level. I have been a head JV coach for baseball at Southern High School. It's hard to teach kids the little things in the game when you have to teach the big things first, like how to catch a ball. The other schools in the county, they cut more kids than we have come out for the sport. So I ask that what's next for Southern? Because they all had losing seasons, every sport. So I'm asking that Dr. Hamlin understands the community instead of firing somebody that is our legend his first year. Actually, he hasn't even been there a full year. Until he gets the chance to know our system in South County. Thank you.
Thank you. The last 5 cards I have were Jonathan Boniface, Dr. Laura Dorsey Elson, Dr. Amalway Elson, Lisa Van Buskirk, and Glenn McGrath. Jonathan, if you want to go right to the podium. And
Good evening, President Korbelek, Vice President Nally, Superintendent Arlato, and members of the board. You all know me, but for the record, my name is Jonathan Boniface, lead organizer of the Build Crofton High School community effort. Over a dozen times before, I've spoken here about the capacity problem AACPS is facing, especially at the high school level. You, as a school system and the Board of Education, have taken action to address this problem by initiating the update to the 2006 MGT study. I am very confident MGT of America will see what we at Build Crofton High School see, a need for an additional school capacity, especially for our high school students. Tonight, I want to share with you a few trends I see when examining the actual enrollments for AACPS over the past 18 years. These numbers are straight from your planning office. From 1996 to 2011, our county population rose by 79,010 residents, and AACPS enrollments rose by 4,479 students. That's an average of 299 students per year over 15 years. In contrast, from 2011 to 2014, our county population rose by 15,730 residents, and AACPS enrollments rose by 3,215 students. That's an average of 1,072 students per year over the past 3 years. That is an increase in the average of 773. We saw an increase in enrollments from June 2014 to September of 1,018 students. That's just 3 months. As retirees move out of Anne Arundel County, families are moving in, as these numbers clearly show. This capacity problem is real and it is accelerating. An additional high school in Crofton will be just the start. If we don't add capacity at the high school level soon, our students and our county will have to endure the consequences of inaction. We can't afford to not plan for this. For a county to be great, it needs great schools. We need to make sure AACPS stays great. Thank you for this opportunity to speak and all for you do for our students.
Good evening. My name is Lisa Van Busker from Edgewater. In my February 4th testimony before you, I encourage you to act on the 2014 Department of Health and Mental Hygiene's study on school start times. The study did not mandate time change, recognizing the unique needs of all 24 jurisdictions in Maryland, and that it would take the power of action away from the local jurisdiction. But in doing so, it states on page 24 of the study, which I'll be happy to email to you, in preserving the status quo, whereby school start times are a matter for each local jurisdiction, the state risks letting local resistance trump a strong body of scientific evidence that sleep is critical to health and academic achievement. If AACPS and the Board of Education represent the local community, then you're also, for now, representing the local resistance to change. But 2 months ago in February, you did take some minor steps to improve your inertia and resistance by voting to approve Dr. Arlato's proposed 2015-26 budget, which included money for transportation software, a consultant, and servers. And you also added $600,000 to the transportation budget. But there's no need to wait until July when the budget becomes enforced. You could take the $12.5 million of surplus that was noted in Dr. Arlato's budget and purchase the software without delay. Either way, what is the status of a request for proposal for this transportation software, the consultant, and the servers? Please also clarify what the additional $600,000 means for school start times. Is it based on the estimated cost of option A proposed by the task force that implemented a 30-minute school delay? Or what does it mean? Last summer in a military leadership class, there was an excellent article I read about the difference between ethical and integrity issues that I would like to read a quote from. What I call an ethical, this is from Stephen Coleman from the Australian Defence Force Academy. What I call an ethical dilemma, or sometimes a test of ethics, is a situation where the difficulty lies in knowing what the right thing to do actually is, where a person is faced with several choices, often bad choices, and has to work out what is the right thing to do in that particular situation. What I call a test of integrity is a situation where it is reasonably obvious, or even perfectly obvious, what the right thing to do is, but for whatever reason, it is difficult for the person involved to actually do the right thing. We know what the right thing to do is regarding school start times, so I don't think the Board of Education has an ethical issue, and I certainly hope it's not a question of integrity for the Transportation Division, AACPS, Dr. Arlato, or the board that is preventing the change of school start times for the health, safety, and welfare of the 80,000 students in our county. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to be 47 in September, and this is the first time I've spoken publicly with glasses. This is an interesting and new experience. How do I look? Good evening, Dr. Arlotto, President Kobalak, and Anne Arundel County Board of Education members. My name is Dr. Laura Dorsey Elson, and I am the chair of a community organization called Monarch High School Now. My husband, Dr. Omawale Elson, and I have 2 children, Imani and Asante, and they have been so far successfully educated in our county in the public school system, and they're currently in 3rd and 6th grade at one of our county's charter schools, the Monarch Academy in Glen Burnie. Now, if there was a word that trumped love, I would use it now to describe how my children and our entire family feels about the education they are receiving at the Monarch Academy. The Monarch Academy is an expeditionary learning school where children learn through semester-long expeditions, and they do so within a learning culture known as transformative education, or trans-ed, where the physical environment is vibrant and the culture is warm and inviting. And for me, also an educator at the college level, the standards are high and the learning is rich. And the good news is that the choice to attend a Monarch school has increased in our county recently with the opening of Monarch Global in Laurel and the approval of Monarch Central. But our county also has a challenge, as currently what I call the Monarch Experience is only available from grades K through 8. And the choice to continue through the high school remains only a dream for my family, for the 200 plus Facebook supporters we have, for the 700 or 800 now 75 signers on our online petition, for the current 1,500 students now enrolled in Monarch schools, and for the countless Anne Arundel County families that would love for their children to attend a Monarch school at elementary, middle, and yes, high school. It's a dream only until now. Monarch High School now represents all Anne Arundel County families who want Monarch High School, which would be a feeder and lottery-based charter school, to exist. And we believe that our children would thrive with a smaller high school experience and a special educational philosophy. We represent the idea of choice, and we would like to see and say that our children deserve that choice in our county, and wouldn't it make a better place to live in? Now, as I said tonight, I'm here as a matter of introduction, so hello, because we'll be back. And perhaps some of our supporters have already contacted you by email and phone, and I've told them, keep it respectful. We respect you, your authority, and we look forward to partnering with you moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Ritchie.
Just a point of clarification, Dr. Arlotto. First off, we have two charters. We have Monarch and we have Chesapeake. And the Monarch at Laurel is actually a contract school.
Correct.
So just to clarify, in case everybody thought that. The other thing is that has anybody come to us? Has a Monarch applied to have a charter high school?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
No, the current charter that you all are familiar with was for the school to begin as a K-8 program. And that's what the charter that was approved by this board. So no, right now there's not a charter, does not allow them to then expand into a high school.
And they haven't requested it, or they haven't put forward any indication that that's what they want to have?
No, we've not had any of those conversations with Dr. Ross up to this point.
So that has
no.
to happen before we can do it. We don't do it. They do it.
I certainly am aware of that process.
I just was making sure because we hadn't gotten anything.
Yes,
so.
this is not a complaint, it's a hello. Hello. Yes, thank you, Ms. Ritchie. Any other questions? Thank you.
Good night, Madam President and Mr. Superintendent, members of the board. I'm here to support my wife and her committee. That's right. My best man said at my wedding, listen to your wife. So I do that. But I'm also an educator, and I'm very much why I support this, not only because of my wife and my kids are in a wonderful school. We took them out of I call it mainstream elementary school, and they're at Monarch Academy, because I think that education is for transformation. It's really interesting. I'm reading a book called Transforming Learning. And I think education is for transformation, is for liberation. And I think that the experiences our kids are having at Monarch Academy is the future of our country. What my daughter says, United States is in an adapting situation, and I like that. Imani is right there. She's a mathematician, by the way. And she said that to me. But the other day, my son was playing basketball. We don't have a hoop yet in the yard, but he was putting it in the tree. So he put it in the tree and it got stuck. So I was watching him from my office, and he started to get a stick and knock it down and knock it. And I say to myself, well, in my traditional thinking, why don't he go in the yard and get a longer stick and just whoop it down? But he, in his way, knock it, and then it came to a lower level, and then he was able to knock it down completely. So I went out and I said to him, Asante, I'm very proud of you. I saw what you were doing. And he says, well, that's perseverance, isn't it? Well, that's a norm of Monarch Secondary, perseverance, right? And it's a very strong value for success in education. But beyond that, when I look at my kids, the friendship network is very diverse. It is one of the most diverse friendship networks that I've ever seen, for kids that age. It's, they sleep over at each other, they go to events with each other. They're Latino, they're Hispanic, they're white, they're African. To me, that's the future. A global situation. And I think how they arrive at that is through a questioning of norms, social norms, a question of culture, and a question of the language influence that reinstalled those norms. So my thing to you is to adapt a more open mind as you hear me talk about the Monarch Academy. And as you talk about, I saw some advocacy here about more African American and more Latinos in the school system, not at the administrative level, because that's where our authority. Kids like to see their authority through people who also represent them as well. I see we're doing not a bad job here on the school board. So I would like to not say why is this happening that we're not having enough Latino and African Americans. I don't ask those questions because they're too defensive. What the questions I ask is, how can we have more so that the systems, then we can look at the systems, make them more transparent so that people don't make judgments about them, and therefore we can able to say how we then can work together, Dr. Olato, how we can work together to bring about what the citizens want for their children and themselves. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. McGrath.
Good evening. I'm Glenn McGrath, board member of the Triton Woods Homeowner Association, here to request a bus stop. Triton Woods is a relatively new neighborhood. We have 38 homes, 71 children, and counting. 12 of these children are middle school age or older, 34 are elementary school. It's a young neighborhood. The storks are still coming, a lot of more children on the way. Currently, the lone bus stop that serves our community is 0.35 miles away from the closest home, 0.51 miles away from the furthest home. Poor sight lines mean the bus stop is not visible from our community. As a result, parents must choose to either drive their kids to the bus stop or drive an extra 0.4 miles past the bus stop to drop their children off at Mayo Elementary. This results in two important consequences. First, the bus stop is congested with vehicles and pedestrians. Cars coming into the neighborhood have to work around a very narrow road. Small children are walking in and around these cars. No one's been hit yet, fortunately, but there have been several close calls. This has brought our attention to this matter. Primary danger comes from the uninitiated visitors and delivery vehicles that can be understandably startled by the chaos that they encounter when they encounter this congested intersection. The second big consequence is the drop-off line at the school is backed up. Because the parents may not want to wait for the bus, they'll drive that extra 0.4 miles to the school and get in the drop-off line. This results in additional congestion that backs traffic up on Route 214. The problem's getting worse. We've been trying to fix it for about a year now. Our previous requests have been denied because they don't meet the distance criterion to create a new bus stop. We're informed you have to be 0.7 miles away from an existing bus stop to qualify for a new one. However, we feel an important criterion that is not being considered is the number of children that are affected. By 2016, we will have over 40 elementary school children using this distant bus stop or the drop-off line at Mayo Elementary. It does not appear to us that creating the bus stop is either costly or disruptive. We are the first stop on this bus route, and we estimate the effect of moving to creating the new bus stop would extend the route by 3 to 4 minutes. We think we're making a reasonable request. I'm uncertain if I've chosen the right forum to pursue this. So I guess I'm asking if any of you guys have any guidance for me as to how I should pursue it. And with that, I want to thank you for your time, and well, thank you for your time.
Thank you. I received the letter that you wrote or email. I couldn't remember which one it was.
It was an email, yeah.
I got it yesterday in my afternoon mail and went through it with my secretary, and I forwarded it on to our COO, who I've asked to look into it and get back to you.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Mrs. Ritchie.
I just had one question. Did you say this was a new neighborhood? A new community?
Relative to new home construction started in 2010. The final home was sold in 2014.
Okay. So, I mean, and maybe that's one of the questions we need to ask is do we have full access to that? I know we had this issue up in Pasadena with one of our communities, which was a new community. And one of the problems we had was we didn't have full access. The county hadn't signed off on the roads. So we weren't allowed to go into the neighborhood because of liability and all kinds of issues. So when you said new, I'm glad you're here tonight because that tells me whether it's new. And that's one of the issues we can look into.
Fantastic question. When the last house was sold in 2014, the roads transferred over to the county.
Yeah.
And so that's why we waited to pursue this until completion.
Oh, okay.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. You have another?
Just real quick, I don't know, the Monarch people have left? Did the Monarch people leave? But then never mind. That's okay, never mind.
Oh, there she is.
I just wanted to tell you that I've had an opportunity to visit Monarch at the one up in Glen Burnie, and I absolutely love that school, and I think that they're doing an absolutely fabulous job. So I didn't want you to think that I was being, dismissive of the high school piece of it and stuff. It's just it has to be applied for a charter piece. But I mean, not all students can go to that, and that's why I'm really glad that school is there because it fits a need to a certain group of students, and
Yes, ma'am.
I just think they're doing fabulous up there.
And I would like to go on record as saying I'm a big fan of yours. I admire you greatly.
I don't have any other completed cards. Is there anyone who wishes to address the board at this time? Okay. Next, we have our action items, 4.01, administrative personnel appointments. Dr. Olato, your recommendation, please.
Yes, ma'am. I recommend the personnel listed on the attached sheet be promoted and or appointed.
So moved.
All those in favor? Motion passes 7-0-0. Item 4.02, superintendent's recommendation on redistricting. I want to mention quickly, though, public comment was taken on this item on April 14th. And as publicized, no further public comment will be heard this evening on redistricting. Dr. Arletto, your recommendation, please.
Yes, ma'am. I recommend the approval of the redistricting of schools, the Annapolis area, as I had submitted previously.
Is there any board discussion? Mrs. Birch?
Just for clarification's sake, there are 4 options, A, B, C, and D, listed on this sheet. Which one of those would be the superintendent's recommendation?
Yes, ma'am. For clarification, it would be, yes, my mic is on, is option A.
Okay, thank you very much. I just wanted to make sure that we were all on the same page as to what we were talking about. Thank you.
So we are discussing option A. Mr. Jackson.
Thank you, Madam President. And just so everybody knows my position relative to A, I don't believe, and I will not be voting for A, because I don't believe it addresses the concerns fast enough for our children at Tyler Heights Elementary School. That's the bottom line for me. It's about 2 years or so, not this upcoming year, but the next year, that I think this is going to go into effect after my study of the issue. And it doesn't address the needs that we have to address next year. And so this recommendation won't, or this motion won't be receiving my vote. Thank you.
I'd also like to go on record to say that I will not be voting on this recommendation either. Over the past few months, I've done significant research on the 4 Tyler Heights proposals before us. I've reviewed the maps and the statistics. I've visited Tyler Heights, Georgetown East, Mills Parole, and Eastport Elementaries. I've spoken with all the principals. I've walked or driven through the neighborhoods in question. I've met with the Annapolis Education Commission, the chair, and I have talked to County Councilman Trumbauer. I also listened to the input from the community and Alderwoman Finlayson last Tuesday night. And it has become clear to me that a partial redistricting of Annapolis at this time, for me, is not in the best interest of our students and their families. I feel that there are simply too many moving parts. And to highlight a few, it's the Monarch Contract School that opens, or is anticipated to open in 2017. I feel that if we redistrict students in 2015 or 16, we're going to be asking families to potentially move their children twice, or to make that decision to move their elementary school children twice. We have the MGT study that's due out this fall. We have development in Eastport and Annapolis that wasn't subject to the county's adequate public facilities rules. That's increasing students in those 2 schools potentially. And overwhelmingly, we seem to have families who are happy with the schools that they're in. So there's not a push from our families in the community to make a change immediately to the school that their child attends, although we still need to address what it's like day to day in those schools. So I will not be voting for this recommendation. Mrs. Ritchie?
I always second a motion just because, or make a motion just so we can have discussion. Doesn't necessarily mean I support it. And in this case, I don't support any of the options. A lot of, for what Ms. Korbelak spoke about, and also the, in the past when we've seen redistricting and the committees have come, they've really come with a really clear, it's real clear when the report comes from the committees what the committee had wanted. And there was, it appears to me, and this is my perception of it, that it was very fractured, that there wasn't a totality of agreement in favor of the option, and this was the option that received the most. And from discussions, from emails, and from reading the reports and stuff. And so I think that there's just, and then a lot of things also clouded it. So redistricting is a really personal thing, and it affects people deeply because this is their kids we're talking about. And knowing that we're going to have some more schools coming on board, knowing that there's some other things that are going to be happening, there's a potential of redistricting again 2 or 3 times, and I just don't think it's fair to have that much upheaval. So for me personally, I don't support this, nor do I support any of them.
Ms. Chaudhry?
I agree with Ms. Ritchie, even though I seconded the motion. It was just, again, for discussion. It wasn't because I supported any of the options, and I certainly don't support option A either. After April 18th's hearing that we had here, and we had people give testimony, I didn't have any support for a lot of the options. A lot of them didn't want any change, or they had another option that I may have disagreed with. So again, I will not be supporting it. I don't believe in splitting up communities, and I don't think we have the right options currently. We need to look at this further.
Mr. Webb?
At the risk of sounding repetitive, I agree with my fellow board members here. And also, the letters I've read have given me a lot of compelling reasons for doing something now and not later. It's just that the options that I've seen are not, I don't think we've really thought enough about this and really thought out of the box. And if you think about the implications of future redistricting and things of that nature, this may not be the right time to do any of the options on the table. We may need to look at some other way of getting this done.
Mrs. Birch.
Thank you. Redistricting is not ever easy. I know it's not easy for the community, and it's certainly not easy for us. I feel as though the committee gave us the best of what, unfortunately, were some really bad options. I mean, there wasn't any good way to do this, and I think that. Because there are so many competing interests, not dividing communities, getting kids inside. There's lots of things that we all want to accomplish. I'm not comfortable with any of these, and I know that I'm not going to support any of them, but at the same time, I know that I think there's going to be a request from this board to ask the superintendent to do something soon to relieve issues next year. I don't think that I want anyone to think that when I vote against an option, I'm saying that nothing would happen, that there would be no relief whatsoever. But because of the out-year problems with more shifts and more changes, I just don't feel like any of these are the adequate or appropriate redistricting option for the community. So I will be voting against.
Mrs. Nally.
I agree with my fellow board members. However, I feel strongly also that we need to do something to relieve Tyler Heights Elementary next year. I feel very strongly about that, and I have asked I really have spoken. We've all spoken with Dr. Arlotto, and we are really going to work very hard. There are a number of options or thoughts on the table. So do not think that Tyler Heights Elementary will be in the same circumstance next year that it is now. It will not.
Mr. Jackson.
Yeah, I want to return to what Ms. Nally said. Board policy 900.01, assignment of students to schools, actually states, and I'm reading it for the record, students must attend the school designated to serve the attendance area of their bona fide residence. Exceptions to the placement of students according to attendance areas may be made as follows in accordance with applicable regulations. With board approval, the superintendent may transfer groups of students outside their normal attendance area to relieve overcrowding or to ensure an equitable distribution of students among available facilities. I also ask, as Ms. Nally has said, that something be done next year to alleviate what has to be done next year. And so I hope that the superintendent, and I pray that the superintendent will make appropriate decisions to transfer groups of students so that we can alleviate what's necessary and what must be done next year for Tyler Heights. Thank you.
I'd like to echo what Mr. Webb said, that I think our thought as a board is that there is some other out-of-the-box thinking that can be done. We've talked to Dr. Arlotto about it, and we do want to see relief in the 2015-16 school year, but we don't think that the relief that we need to see is on any of these pieces of paper. I think we're ready to take a vote on the superintendent's recommendation for option A. All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion fails 0-7. I think for the record, we'll go ahead and vote on the remaining ones as well. Mrs. Birch?
I move, as you see on the board, Tyler Heights option B, effective in the 2015-16 school year.
Second.
Any board discussion? All those in favor of option B? All those opposed? Motion fails 0-7. Mrs. Birch.
I move the Tyler Heights Elementary School option C.
All those in favor? Opposed? Option C fails 0-7. Mrs. Birch.
I move Tyler Heights Elementary School option D.
All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion on option D fails 0-7. So that completes the Tyler Heights options. Now we will move on to consider the Admiral Cochran Drive area option. Mrs. Birch.
I would like to move that effective in the 2015-16 school year that we shift properties along Admiral Cochran Drive, including the Knights of Columbus property, from the Edgewater Elementary, Central, Middle, South River high attendance areas to the Mills Pearl Elementary, Bates, Middle, Annapolis high attendance zones.
Is there any discussion on the Admiral Cochran? Mrs. Ritchie?
During the discussion, it got a little confusing at first, because at first we said there were no students that were impacted by this because we haven't built that community and those students don't live there. But evidently there's one student in this area that lives and would be affected by this, and they came and spoke against it. My question, well, thinking about how to ask this question. So I just, that's an issue for me, because there's nobody to speak for it. I mean, there were the people who want to build, but they're builders. They want to build the buildings and they want to, and do that and so forth. But there was no students or no parents of students, except for this one student who the parent came up and spoke against it. And I know it's because it affects them. I don't know whether there were other students that would have been affected or not. So I guess, would this student then be eligible to request an out-of-area transfer?
My assumption is the answer is yes, that they can, that's open to anybody.
And I actually don't know what school the student goes to now. I don't know whether they're an elementary, middle, or high school student. But are these schools, do we know offhand if they're all open? Willing to accept, they can accept out-of-area transfers?
Alex Sheknew, Chief Operating Officer. At the principal's level of authority, the answer is no. At the superintendent or superintendent's designee's level of authority, the answer is yes.
So they could apply for an out-of-area transfer, which would be denied at the principal's level, this one student, but it could be appealed further up.
That's the way that the hierarchy of that policy is structured.
Okay, I just wanted to kind of put that out there.
Are you suggesting like a grandfathering? Okay. Okay. Mrs. Birch.
I know that we have often done that with when we've done redistricting in the past, and it's affected very few students currently, that one student has gotten to finish out. But I know that we were also told about rising kindergartners. Well, they haven't gone to school yet, so it doesn't matter. They'll just start wherever they start. I can understand why it would be different for the one student already in school. And, certainly the superintendent would have the prerogative of allowing that student to continue. That's he has that ability. It's in his authority. Personally, I think this is a good idea because I don't understand why we let any children go over that bridge to go to school. So I would like more of our children not to be going over the bridge to go to elementary school. It makes sense that they stay on the north side of the bridge instead of driving over the bridge every day to go to school. So that's just my druthers. If there's any more south of there, you keep letting us know and let's bring them back north. Thanks.
And just to clarify, I know we've gotten some emails from the Gingerville community, but they are not a part of this redistricting plan, correct?
That is correct, ma'am. None of the existing community that we know of as Gingerville is at all impacted by this activity today.
So this is strictly to allow access on Admiral Cochran Drive to any communities that have sort of driveways or entryways on Admiral Cochran to then come out Admiral Cochran to River Road and go to school, like at Annapolis High School, ultimately for the high school.
That is correct. That's the way that that the redistricting option was drafted and vetted through the process.
Okay. All right, all those in favor of Admiral Cochrane Drive area redistricting? Okay, motion passes 7-0. The next 4 items on the agenda are policy revisions. They're all third readings. The first one is 4.03, evaluation and rating of teachers, code GBHA. Dr. Arletto, your recommendation, please.
Yes, ma'am. I recommend the approval of policy GBH, subject to final correction for style and format.
Any board comment? Is there any public comment? All those in favor? Motion passes 7-0-0. Item 4.04 is the policy on performance evaluation and rating unit 2 GBI, third reading. Dr. Arletto, your recommendation.
Yes, ma'am. I recommend the approval of policy GBI, subject to final correction for style and format.
Is there any public comment?
Mrs. Korbelak, if I could just for 1 second,
Sure.
I just wanted to mention the board always asks for if there's been any public comment during the 30-day public comment period. While there wasn't public comment in the formal sense of that by us receiving an email to our public comment email site, I did want to acknowledge that AEL has been in constant communication throughout this whole process prior to it even going to the policy committee. And I just wanted to acknowledge that collaboration and partnership that we've had in AEL to pass this policy.
Thank you. Thank you. All those in favor? Motion passes 7-0-0. Item 4.05, the policy on formulation of administrative regulations, CF, third reading. Dr. Arletto?
Yes, ma'am. I recommend the approval of policy CF, subject to final correction for style and format.
Is there any public comment? All those in favor? Motion passes 7-0-0. Item 4.06, Student Nutrition Services Whole School Policy EB, third reading. Dr. Arletto, your recommendation.
Yes, ma'am. I recommend the approval of policy EB, subject to final correction for style and format.
I know. Do I have a second? Is there any public comment? All those in favor? Motion passes 7-0-0. Thank you. We now have 3 review items. Item 5.01, review item Corcoran Middle School Telecommunication Transmission Facility. Is there any board questions or comments? Mrs. Ritchie?
This is a very controversial question, topic and so forth with the telecommunication things, these towers. So I wanted to just say that when we put into policy and we asked for that we would get minutes and what was happening at the meetings and stuff. And when I read these notes, I get a very comprehensive look at what happened, I think. I mean, it seems to be very well spelled out. You tell me how many people were here. You tell me how many people were from the school system, how many people were from Milestone or whoever's putting off everything. And you go through the questions, you talk about the process. So I want to say that I'm very appreciative of the information that we receive regarding these meetings, because a lot of times, we'll get, with the new online petition things where people from California can tell us about how they hate cell towers. Well, that's fine in California, but they don't live here. So this is quite effective. Thank you.
Mrs. Birch.
Thank you so much. I do also want to compliment you all on the minutes, because I know that a couple schools ago we had said that we didn't really get a picture of what actually had happened, and this was much more complete and gave me a much better idea of what happened at the meeting. So thank you very much. I did want to ask, you know, you knew who a few of the people were, and I noticed that several of them weren't even from the area. Some weren't even from the county. Do you have any idea of the 9 or 10 people who came who weren't directly involved with the project? How many of them actually were from the neighborhood, and how many came just because they don't like cell towers?
Greg Stewart for the record. We basically had a handful from the community. There was a PTA, the PTA president was there. We also had the HOA president from the Glen Burnie Improvement Association, and the delegate, one of the delegates from the state delegation was there. So we kind of had, although it wasn't many people, we had less than 10.
And there were a couple neighbors.
A couple neighbors that basically were just north of the school.
And then there were at least 2 people from out of the area.
Right. One from Montgomery County, one Prince George's County.
And one from another part of the county.
Piney Orchard.
So at least 3 were just there.
Right.
Just there. Okay. Thank you.
I'm just curious, you noted that the sign did not pass the county sign rules. What are those rules?
Basically, there was a limitation on height and how close it can be to a public right-of-way. So because it is our sign, we are not subject to the zoning code. Therefore, it's not a milestone sign. They're basically building the structure. Any signage that would go on it actually names graphics that would belong to us, and we would be the applicant for that part of the permit. It would actually be a separate building permit for the sign part of it.
And as, Madam President, as you can see, there's further in your package, you'll see a couple of different sort of schematic representations, and we've really been encouraging the school essentially to take ownership of the different designs on the marquee. It will be there, so it's going to be how you can identify that school and locate it. It's not the easiest school to find, so it's just giving some options, but we have really been taking input. In fact, I think if you read in the packet, one of the comments that did come into us was that they wanted the color scheme of the sign changed as well, and that is something certainly we're absolutely open and receptive to. So we want to make sure that it's a good fit for the residents of the Corcoran community.
So the people that were opposed to the sign at the meeting, opposed to the tower at the meeting, was it about the sign or was it just about cell towers in general?
Cell towers in general.
Okay, thank you. I don't see any additional comments from the board. Is there any public comment? Okay, thank you. The next review item 5.02 is the construction status report. Are there any board questions or comments? Are there any public comments? Okay, thanks for coming up. Item 5.03, review item on the monthly financial status report. Any questions or comments from the board? Any questions from the public or comments from the public? Okay. We have consent items 6.01 through 6.05. These are information to action items. Do I have a motion to bundle these 5 items and move them from information to action?
So moved.
All those in favor? We now have an action item. Dr. Arletto, your recommendation.
Yes, ma'am. I recommend that the Board of Education award contracts 6.01 through 6.05 as listed on tonight's agenda.
Moved. Are there any board questions or comments? Is there any public comment? Okay, all those in favor? Motion passes 7-0-0. Before we move to go back into closed session, I just have a couple of announcements. The next Board of Education meeting is Wednesday, May 6th at 10 a.m. The next Board Policy Committee meeting is Wednesday, May 13th at 8:30 a.m. The next Board Budget Committee meeting is Wednesday, May 13th at 12:30 p.m. in conference room 2B. Mrs. Nally?
I'd like to move that we go into closed session to consult with counsel to obtain legal advice on a legal matter.
We're now in closed session. Thank you.